The 2019 NFL Draft was a big one for the LA Rams. They needed to come in after losing the Super Bowl to the New England Patriots. They needed to have a successful draft to replace many of the players that they lost to free agency and add some depth at some crucial positions. Round number 2, they immediately address one of their needs in Taylor Rapp. Round number 3, they get some depth for the injury concern of Todd Gurley. And they continue to provide depth to their defense and their offense in this 2019 draft. Not a ton of players that will contribute right away, but some players that could potentially find roles in the future, or just players that could be good backups for a lot of their crucial positions on their team. It's Mitch of TheBottomLineView here to give you my analysis, my draft grade for the LA Rams 2019 NFL Draft. If you enjoy Gronk, spike that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more NFL draft grades. And let's get into my analysis on the LA Rams 2019 draft. So, starting off with their first pick, which was Taylor Rapp at safety, they brought in Eric Weddle to replace LaMarcus Joyner. And let's be honest, Eric Weddle's getting up there in age. Eric Weddle's an older player that's looking to win now. He's also a player that is not quite the athlete he used to be. Still a great player, still very intelligent, and pretty good in the box as a tackler. And I think what Eric Weddle brings, just side note, is a player that can put the Rams in great position to make plays defensively because of his mind for football. And I think his mind for football, Eric Weddle's, is going to help Taylor Rapp really progress as a player. And I could see Rapp really flourishing as a third safety on this team, learning from Eric Weddle. He can play right away in 3 safety sets, but he can also be a replacement for Eric Weddle eventually when he retires. So that was a very nice pick from Washington in round number 2. Fair value there in the second round. Third round pick, they get Darrell Henderson from Memphis, running back. Some considered the best running back in this draft. So really, they got a steal here. I think he'll play behind Gurley and possibly Malcolm Brown. I could see him even unseating Malcolm Brown as their second string running back. We'll have to see how that camp battle and how that progresses throughout the season. But Todd Gurley, getting a backup for him was crucial. We know that he had some weird issues, whatever they were, whether that was knee-related, injury-related, psychological. I don't really know what they were because nobody would tell us in the playoffs, but he has some issues going on, and there are some concerns, some question marks surrounding Todd Gurley. So they needed to add a pretty talented running back early in this draft, and that was a big need for them, and they did just that with Darrell Henderson. Then in the third round, once again, they get David Long from Michigan, a corner who I think it was a big pick for them because sometimes in the NFL draft, you're not just picking for immediate needs, but you're picking for needs that are going to exist in the future. And Marcus Peters' contract is coming up. Aqib Talib is getting older. They could use some depth at this corner position, which is one of the more important in the modern NFL. Wade Phillips likes using a lot of corners. So adding a corner here, I think, was a great move. Adding David Long, not too sure on really how good he's going to be in the future, but at least they add a player here that can help them out in the future, potentially, if he turns out to be something decent. And a third-round pick, definitely worth it. Then they go out and get Bobby Evans again with their third-round pick in this draft. Bobby Evans from Oklahoma was on one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in college football. Of course, looking at their roster right now, the Rams have Andrew Whitworth, who... Is he even playing this year? I'm pretty sure he said he's going to play, but I think his mind is not made up yet. So Bobby Evans, if Andrew Whitworth is going to come back this year, still, he's going to play 1 year and then possibly retire after this year. So Bobby Evans could be a starter as soon as next year. You also have to think that he could possibly start if they want to move him to a different position somewhere. Like they could play him at left or right tackle. Roger Saffold did leave the team, so even though left and right tackle are their best positions on the Rams offensive line, they probably need to think about possibly moving Bobby Evans around this offensive line. He's a nice backup to have for an older Andrew Whitworth. And losing Roger Saffold, I think, was a big thing in just depth concerns and offensive line concerns in general, because the Rams' offensive line, I think it really showed that it wasn't as good as a lot of people thought in that Super Bowl against the Patriots. And I think going into this season, it might be one of their weaknesses offensively. They also add David Edwards to the right tackle position, so they add 2 tackles on their offensive line. I probably would have liked to seen them address their interior offensive line with a center or a guard, but if either of these guys, Evans or Edwards, can show versatility and play one of those positions, that would be ideal. In the 4th round, they go with Greg Gaines, who's going to probably immediately play some snaps at nose tackle for them. He's a big dude. He's a good run stuffer. And they have Aaron Donald, but they lost Ndamukong Suh, so they need somebody to replace that spot. Greg Gaines could be the player for them at that spot. And other than that, I mean, they added to their linebacker position with Dakota Allen. They added a safety with Nick Scott as well. But I think the Rams did a good job of addressing most of their biggest needs. They addressed a future tackle in Bobby Evans under Andrew Whitworth. They have Darrell Henderson as a backup for Todd Gurley. Greg Gaines, who can play on the defensive line right away. They have David Long, who could replace Marcus Peters if he leaves next year. And they have Taylor Rapp, who's going to play probably some snaps here and there, but could be a replacement for Eric Weddle. So the Rams were wise in looking for replacements for their older players, and that's the way they went about their draft in 2019. I would have liked to have seen, as I said, them address the interior offensive line. I would have also liked to seen them possibly add another pass rusher to the edge position. Outside of really Dante Fowler, they don't really have that guy. Clay Matthews potentially could be used in that role, but he's not what he once was. So those are the 2 kind of concerns or nitpicks for their draft. But overall, I would have to give them a solid B. I felt like it was a good draft. They got some good players here, some players that will contribute, but not a ton in year number 1. This was more built for their future. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Did you love this draft? Do you hate this draft? Gronk, spike the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Peace out.